we've ever had. So I guess the topic probably resonates with a few of you. I know I've had that conversation before too. Before we jump into that, a couple of announcements. We can officially announce today the dates for Targeting Quality 2017. It's going to be at the Crown Plaza again. It's going to be September 25th and 26th this year. That's a Monday and a Tuesday. So watch out for the official announcements to go out this week. But if you want to get things started with your boss on getting approval for that, you can probably get that underway. I think we're keeping the prices the same last year. Same-ish. If you look back there. One other thing, just a really quick reminder to RSVP early, preferably by the Friday before the meeting, so that we can make sure we have enough food and space for everyone. We're actually like right at capacity today, so we just snuck in there. But yeah, it's logistics like that make it important to let us know if you're coming. And that's all I have for announcements. So I'm going to hand things over to Jerry Penner. Jerry's kind of one of our local guys. He's been a speaker at our quality conference in the past. He's also works in the region, and he's I think he's worked with many of you as well. So I'm going to hand things off to Jerry.
How is everybody today?
Doing great. Michael. Yeah.
Awesome. My name is Jerry, and I am a test specialist with Waterloo Hydrogeologic. We'll open with a question. Has anybody on a test automation initiative that felt more like a Rube Goldberg machine than a time and energy and labor-saving device? Show of hands.
Can you check your mic?
Oh, good. I am so glad you're here. I'm glad I'm not the only one. So today we're going to cover managing automation expectations, what to automate, what to not automate, why to automate, why not to automate. We'll talk about the automation criteria, who, what, where, when, why, and how, selecting proper tools for the job, and unconventional tools, uses, and pairings. So, what is sensible? What is automation? Wiktionary says sensible is able to make good judgments based on reason. Also characterized more by usefulness or practicality than by fashion. I like that one. Characterized more by usefulness or practicality than by fashion. Wikipedia calls automation the use of various control systems for operating equipment with minimal or reduced human intervention. Really? Not for the projects I've seen. A typical visualization for test automation is a computer pushing its own buttons. This is high-level black box GUI testing, which is best performed by humans. If a robot is doing it, the tests are difficult to automate, difficult to maintain. They're brittle, and they can break in various ways for various reasons. There are other things that we can do besides a computer pushing its own buttons to give us a better ROI. So, can anybody give me some good or bad reasons? And if you put up your hand, I promise you I will not cut it off.
I want to save my time and do something more interesting.
Great, that's a good one. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Repetitive tasks and unchaining parts of the software.
Excellent. Yes, sir.
I can run quickly at times when I need a quick turnaround.
I want to come to work in the morning and get the result that has been done tonight.
Excellent. Here are some of the reasons that I came up with. Now, let's say you're a car owner. You've got a few stone chips on your vehicle. You want to touch them up. What you'll do is you'll go to the dealership. You'll buy a can of touch-up paint. You'll touch up the stones. If you are an automotive manufacturer, your car line, you will order $1 million painting robot. If you're an automotive manufacturer, it makes no sense to send your guys to the local dealership to buy cans of touch-up paint. If you are owning your car and you want to touch up the paint, it makes no sense to buy $1 million painting robot and put it in your driveway. It'd be cool. Boss wants to avoid pain and embarrassment, wants to hit an externally set target. Let's assume for a moment that something bad has happened. Software got out that shouldn't have, it's been released, the Twitter sphere is blowing up, the blogosphere is blowing up, the share price is going down, and maybe somebody's talking about it in Parliament. Your boss needs to cover his arse and settle things down. One way to do that is if we're going to automate all the testing and get 100% coverage. This is terrific, as long as you need to look like you're doing something. If your boss is interested in actually catching bugs before they get out, catching the important ones, there are different ways to do that. So, what can we and can we not automate? Yes, sir. Brand new pieces, excellent. Yes, sir.
Those things that we don't need to test regularly, just once in a year, we don't need to.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
And automate the user experience.
Oh, I like that one. I found that it takes me 8 to 16 times longer to describe to a computer how to do something for me to do it. Your automation is dumber than a co-op. A good co-op will follow basic generic instructions and ask questions if something goes wrong. A computer won't do that. A computer will say, "Sir, something's wrong. I don't know what." Or maybe you'll just quietly shiver in the corner and wait for you to notice. Building test scripts. The act of building a test script, you're trying to describe how to test something to something that's about as smart as a rubber duck. So this is a form of rubber duck testing. And in creating these scripts, you actually start to think more critically about what it is you're looking for. It could be that the thing that changed on the screen that triggered the error is something you really don't care about. So now you can not check for that. So your boss says, "We're going to automate everything. I want you to take care of it for me." Excellent. These are the questions you need to start asking. And you need to ask them in a very respectful tone. Who's going to do it? Are we going to hire a toolsmith? Are we going to hire a tester? Are we going to hire a developer? Oh, me. You want me to do it? Okay. Well, here are the things that I'm doing over the course of a 40-hour week. What would you like me to drop so I can take this initiative? This puts the onus back on them, makes them realize this is not a small task they're asking for. What do you want to check? Do you want to check an API, GUI? Are you doing installation? Are you doing compliance? What needs to be checked? Where are the pain points? What is better off being checked by a human? The source and target environments. Are they contaminants? Do we happen to have a test VM that is running on the same hardware as the build server, and as such, the two are going to fight each other when it comes to performance testing time? Are we going to run these tests at night? Great, let's run them at night. Guess what? Every time I set up a test to run at night, half an hour after I get home, it fails. Doesn't matter if I stay that extra half hour or not. So the scripts that run at night, they have to be run on a machine that you can babysit, make sure everything is running the way it's supposed to, then move it over, then watch it there. Even then, you still might miss something. There might be some stupid thing that kicks off at 4 o'clock in the morning, right in the middle of your test script, that makes things blow up. Maybe Microsoft wants to do an update when you're not there. Well, crap, I'm trying to do stuff. Money and time. Again, it takes me 8 to 16 times longer to describe to a computer what I want done than to just do it myself. And how are we going to do this? Are we going to hire externally? Automation testers are not cheap. Are we going to teach from within? That means I have to take more time to learn what it is I need to do and be given the time to make mistakes. Some companies believe that throwing money at a problem will solve it, and that an expensive testing tool will be the silver bullet that saves the company. But no matter how expensive, no matter how comprehensive the testing tool, it still needs to be by a human. I would prefer to spend the company's testing budget on a bunch of smaller tools than one big tool. You ever been to your mechanic's shop and had a look in his toolbox? He's got hundreds, maybe thousands of tools in there. And he uses some of them every single day, some once or twice a year. I think that the automation suite that we use, the tools that we use to help us do our jobs, should be the same way. And my answer to that question, I'm sorry, I've not worked for a company that's seen a positive ROI for expensive tools like this. I do have experience, though, with free and nearly free tools. One of the most popular publications for any testing magazine is the tool issue. Unfortunately, there aren't a whole lot of publishers publishing magazines anymore. Luckily, we can Google this stuff. So, I've put together a sample selection matrix here. So we've got the stuff at the top here, which tells you a little bit about the tool and how to find it again later. We've got the pros and cons of the OS. All that comes from the website. And then tester evaluation. All this stuff down here, this is the stuff that we care about in our company. So, is price a factor? Goes up there. Do we need record and playback scripting? Do we need to operate it programmatically? Just playing with it. Do we like it? Or is it frustrating? All of this comes down to a subjective score. These are all done 1 out of 5. And you can build this out. And using this, you can decide which tools you want to evaluate. The tool value calculator. This expresses the human cost of the automation effort. Even if the tool is free, it still costs you money and time and effort to learn how to use the tool, to figure out what it can do, what it can't do, and maybe search the net for other people who are having the same problems as you so you can solve the same problem. This is the sort of stuff that gets hidden on the CFO reports. And this is the sort of stuff that can cause your boss or your boss's boss to change his mind about the testing effort. So now we'll talk about some of the free and nearly free tools. Anybody here heard of iMacros? Awesome. It's a cute, you can get it free, you can get a paid version for $100 or $200. I had, my DB guy wanted me to generate a little bit of load going into his back-end DB server. He wanted me just click this ad every 30 seconds. Well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use iMacros to do that. That way I could go do something else while he did his thing, and he came back and told me, okay, I'm done. Excellent, thank you. Selenium. I don't think I need to talk to anybody here about Selenium. Selenium is awesome. If you're testing websites, you need to use it. The one thing that I find problematic with Selenium is that it uses Celanese commands that are based. JavaScript has a same origin policy. So if you are testing a website that tries to save something to your hard drive, you need to find a different way to do it. As soon as you jump out of that web browser, Selenium can't help you. Seculi. Image recognition-based record and playback, runs on Java. It's very similar to Eggplant, but it's $10,000 per seat per year cheaper. There was this one time at band camp, I was working away on my computer. The office was wired in such a way that the only way to get internet to my machine was wireless. The wireless was flaky. So I set up Seculi to watch the icons in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. When it sees internet's off, go down here, click the internet off button, reset the internet, close it down, go. This saved me a whole lot of time, because there would be times when I'm sitting there doing my stuff and the machine isn't responding. I could be working away for 2 or 3 or 5 minutes, wasting time trying what's going wrong here, when actually it's just flaky Wi-Fi. Well, when the machine can recognize that we've got flaky Wi-Fi, when I see my cursor going off into the corner, okay, I know what's going on. I'll just hang on for a minute. Thank you. And away we go. DOS batch scripting. There was this one time at band camp where I needed to check a specific website's HTML for no instances of www.example.com. The website was going to be packaged up on a CD and shipped off for shred credits. I had an hour. There were 300 pages. There's no possible way I could check each of these 300 pages by myself. Okay, first I'd have to run a web crawler to find out what all the URLs are, click each one, copy, paste into the browser. I'm not doing that. I could have copied all of that in a data-driven test in Visual Studio. That still would have taken too long. What I did, since I realized that all of this already exists on a physical CD in somebody's tray and is going to get shipped off as soon as I give the thumbs up, I used the DOS find string command. Ran in 30 minutes. That gave me 15 minutes to think about what it was I needed to do. 30 minutes to run the thing. Still done with 15 minutes to spare. AOSL scripting. Any old scripting language. I don't care which scripting language you choose. Python, Ruby, Water, Cucumber, Perl, whatever. I don't care. Pick one, learn it, use it, find out what it's capable of. When you find something that it can't do, find another language that'll do it and build out your knowledge. There was this one time at band camp where I needed a whole bunch of fake first and last names. I started maybe 100. Started typing them out from my head. After the first dozen, I was running out of ideas. Okay, sooner or later, I'm going to need more than what I can think of. So I went to the Ontario White Pages, used a Python script to scrape all of the first and last names and phone numbers using Python, sanitized the list, deduped it, threw it into Notepad to split it out into first and last names and strip out all the rest of the junk that came in. And then I built a random name generator that would take one random first name, one random last name, put them together, set them over here. Once I found that this was working, after the first 100, great, make me 1,000,000. An hour later, I've got my 1,000,000 names, and I'll never have to run that script again. What I did, that took me a week, because I'm not really good at Python. But what I did in a week would have taken me 4 years. By nearly free tools, I mean tools that are so inexpensive that even if my boss says, we're not buying that, I'm buying it. It's a tool that typically I would spend maybe half a week's pay on it, no more. It's a tool that is so useful that I don't mind buying it and using it. SOAP UI and Load UI. These are great for web-based content, great for APIs. The nearly free version is $300 and allows data-driven testing, and they build a whole lot more help into the $300 version. You will save yourself a whole lot of aggravation just by spending the $300 as opposed to using the free version. SQL queries. My database guy wanted to do some performance testing to find out how the web server would behave when the database is busy. So together we built a Be Busy query. Just pick some stuff out of here and put these tables together and join them and filter them, and what came out really didn't matter. What mattered was how long it took. We built something that would keep the machine busy for about half an hour, which is enough time for him to do what he needed to do. He was able to watch the performance counters on the web server and see that things were working the way he expected them to. Xenu Link Sleuth. If you are doing web testing, you need to use Xenu. It crawls websites the same way that Google does. It ignores JavaScript. So if you've got really cool functionality built into your website and you want to see how Google sees it when they crawl, Xenu. It's great for finding broken links. There was this one time at Bandcamp where my company bought an M&A, and it was a cute little website. They bought it, set it up on their servers, and said, Jerry, it's all right, you don't need to look at it. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't believe that. So I stick Xenu on it. Just do a crawl. Just tell me if there's anything broken here. What I found were some backdoor email addresses pointing to the original owners. Not the original owners' company addresses, the original owners' home addresses. This got fixed. There are things that you can put together that at first blush, they don't look like they should go together, but by golly, they work. Excel. Say what you want, Excel is a fantastic tool. It can do a bazillion different things. If you're building out URLs and you need to test various query string parameters, you can lay out your query string parameters in one column, your URL in another, a few other bits and pieces, and then concatenate them together. On that final column, you copy that out, you paste it into your data-driven test, and now you've got a whole bunch of URLs that you can bang away at. You can connect it to a SQL database. You can pull data in for whatever reason. You can use it for building test plans and cases and scripts. Very first job I had was working for a medical records management company. And the flagship product was being built out feature by feature. Each feature had its own spreadsheet. Well, not every feature got tested on every iteration. So we were getting spreadsheets that were lost, spreadsheets that were updated never, spreadsheets that were updated twice. What I did was I took each one of those spreadsheets, gave each one its own tab, put summary information at the top of each tab, put a summary tab at the front that grabbed all the summary information at the top so that a manager can look at the very first page and see this is what ran, this is what didn't, this is what passed, this is what failed. Blink testing. There was this one time at Bandcamp I was allowed to spend Friday afternoons doing whatever I wanted. So I would spend them looking at production logs. I would grab a couple of hours of production logs, copy, paste them into Excel, and then zoom out. I would zoom out until I can't read it anymore. In a production log, you can see things that happen every minute, every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, every hour. You can see things that when this happens, these other things happen. And when you zoom out to the point where you can't see the words anymore, you can see the flow of events. And when you see a break in the flow, that's where you zoom in and look. I found some really interesting problems that way. Notepad++. Who here does not use Notepad++? Excellent. Notepad++ is my sonic screwdriver. I realized just how useful regexes were until I started using them in Notepad++. If you want to convert data from production to staging, so that you can grab a bunch of URLs from production, just to get actual user usage, change it to a staging URL using Notepad++, and paste them into your data-driven tests. It's got a bazillion different formats for batching and scripting, and if all of the ones listed aren't useful to you, you can create your own. Stripping and formatting copy-pasted data. When I'm copying stuff out of one particular product, it copies all the formatting information out. When I paste it someplace else, in another Microsoft product, is trying to be helpful in retaining that formatting information. So, a way around this is to copy the text I want out of the Microsoft product, paste it into Notepad++, copy, paste it into the next thing. All the formatting's gone. I just got straight text. Creating corrupted files. Dead easy. If you need a corrupted JPEG, create a new file, call it boo.jpg, type in the text, boo, save, done. Python and Selenium IDE. There was this one time at Bandcamp I was working with a whole bunch of production images for an ad serving company. So the company would take the queries from your phone, send them to the back-end database, and based on that, respond with ad images. The data changed at a rate of 30% per day. There were hundreds of retailers, thousands of stores, millions of products. How am I supposed to be able to tell how this is all working? Well, I could use a crawler, and the crawler will find the 404s, but it won't find the nice images that say 404 not found, that return a 200. So what I did was I wrote a Python script that takes in all the API queries, strips out the image URLs in those API responses, and turns them into a Selenium script that plays back one URL every 30 seconds. So all I had to do at that point was watch images go by. I was able to take a 30-day process and drop it to 3 days. This was something that was really not possible before. Python and HTML and JavaScript. There was this one time at Bandcamp where we were promised a big TV to show metrics on if we could produce a reasonable dashboard. Everybody thought this is a great idea. We need a big TV. Yes, we do. Who's going to do it? I don't know. I'm busy. So I created a JavaScript page rotator, and it would hit the CI build summary page. It would hit a page that I had created that would look at the bug tracking tool and pull out all the open urgent issues every 30 minutes and craft up an HTML page. And I would also show a web page for Twitter with 2 handles: company name and this app sucks. That got us our big TV. Online tools. Lorem Ipsum generator. Does anybody here not know what Lorem Ipsum is? Okay. Lorem Ipsum, if you're building out a website and you want to make sure that all the elements are lined up nice and you want to show something to the bigs, but the text isn't ready, you can use Lorem Ipsum. It's a fake language that kind of looks like English if you don't squint at it too hard, and it allows you to see how things are laying out. However, there's a possibility that this could get into production if the copy still isn't ready by the time it's time to push it out. So, with a Lorem Ipsum generator, you can find out what might be on this page that ought not be, and go looking for that. Richard Ashida's code converter. On certain websites, you'll see characters that just don't render properly. What are those? It took me a long time to figure out what they were. Now when I look at this, I know exactly what it is, and I don't have to go through this to find out. There are some characters in Microsoft Word, like the long dash, the back quote, don't translate well into ASCII. If your website is set up to show ASCII, and you start feeding it things like back quotes and long dashes, you'll get boxes where a character should be. So when I found this, I copied the information from the source into the code converter so that I could see exactly what code was being produced. That way I could take that code, hand it back to the designers and say, I'm getting this. And since I found it here, and the website's this big, and this is a new website, this is probably not the only place. Can you please check for this? Credit card generators. If you're doing any credit card validation processing, you probably already know 42, 42, 42, 42, and 54, 54, 54, 54. And you can run these through an online payment system to see if they are accepted or rejected. A couple of months ago, I had my credit card stolen. Now, it wasn't because I was at a dodgy restaurant or a dodgy gas station, or I was at an ATM I wasn't familiar with. No. Some kid went to an online credit card generator, generated 10,000 numbers, and wrote a Python script that would plug one into an online retailer that did not check for CVVs. Here's the card number. There are only 48 valid months for a credit card. So try this. No? Okay, how about this? How about this? When he gets a hit, it goes into a special folder, and he can come back later and buy porn. W3C markup validation service. Again, this is a handy thing if you're doing web testing. It can find usability issues that your designers might not even know to look for. Mobile tools. Monkey. I love Monkey. Monkey is built into every Android phone and every Android IDE. And it is the equivalent of plugging your app into a phone, handing it to a monkey, and he will shake it and push all the buttons while the volume up and down all at the same time. It's a functional fuzzing test tool, and it uses a pseudo-random number generator that has a seed value. So you change the seed value, you get different sets of sequences of events. But when you find something, all you have to do is remember what the seed value was, and you can reproduce it. So what I had my developers do was start the app. The seed value was the date time code. That way when they came in the morning, if there was a problem, they could rerun the test and they could see exactly what's going wrong and fix it. If you need to find out what your app will do when you lose signal, elevators are a handy thing. If your building doesn't have an elevator, wait for big garbage day, find a microwave oven, off the cord, start your app, stick it in the microwave oven. There was this one time at band camp, I was testing an app, and for some reason, at about 2 o'clock every day, plus or minus 5 minutes, my phone would stop working. What the heck is going on? Okay, well, there's the AP. No, that ain't it. So what's going on? There. My designer listening to his favorite radio show every day at 2 o'clock on his wireless headphones. They ran on 2.4 gigahertz, same as the phone. Oh, the load balancer story. Yes, I like this one. I was doing some load testing. If you're doing load testing, make sure that your the machine you're hitting and the machine you're sending the traffic from are in the same space. If you've got both machines inside your office, great. If you've got both machines outside your office, great. If you're generating load from inside your office to a machine in the AWS cloud, there could come a time when your boss's boss comes to you and says, "Hey Jerry, the VoIPs aren't working. The sales guys haven't been able to make or receive a phone call for the past half hour. Do you know anything about that?" Yeah. We were testing the scaling of a prod API server. So we had a load balancer with 2 API servers and 1 database server. All these were outside the office. We also set up load generators in the AWS cloud to bang away at them. And we set it all up, we turned it on, we watched the servers to see what would happen. So AP1 would become active. It would get hammered with load. It stops responding. The load balancer detects an unresponsive API1, turns on API2, but it's not ready yet. But it directs traffic to there. So nobody's getting any traffic. It takes 30 seconds for this machine to come up. Once this machine comes up, this machine shuts down, and all the traffic is now going here. This machine can't respond. It's being overloaded. This machine, by now, has settled down, so it can come back up. So now they're doing this. And nobody's getting any responses. So by watching this, we were able to trim the rules on the switch to make sure that this didn't happen. Before I was a software tester, I was an electronic hardware engineer. And it was there that I learned a whole lot of interesting things. Test early, test often. Don't be afraid to fail. Learn from your mistakes. Iterative development. I learned about all these things before they were cool. There was one time where I needed to run a job that was going to take long 8 hours. So I'd have to run it overnight. The machine that I was running it on, this was about late 90s. I ran it overnight, came in the morning, it hadn't finished. Why not? The machine had shut down, non-use. There was some sort of dead man switch in it. So I looked through the BIOS, I looked all over the inside and outside of the hardware, could not find a way to disable the dead man switch. So, build a keep alive. Got a slow turning gear motor and made an articulated arm with a box that just fit over top of the mouse and just did this all night. So now it's your turn. Tell me, what have you MacGyvered? Yes, sir.
At one point, I worked at a mobile device manufacturer, and at some point, the phone went into lockdown when the OS became so weird and you couldn't load test app Sonic. And we needed a way to automatically answer phone calls. And if you pull the phone out of the holster, it set it on answer. So we put a magnet on a motor that would go around, and as it passed over the magnetic sensor, it would answer the phone call.
That's awesome.
Anybody else? What have you done for automation that you're ashamed of that worked? And last we have the money shot. You can get out your phones and take a picture of it. You can contact me later and ask for the slides. Thank you very much for coming out. Anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
So one of the really early slides of this rule value calculator, you actually use that to like demonstrate value of automated testing. Like
Which one was that?
it was like yeah, the slide called rule value calculator.
Oh, yes. If you are, your boss says, we're going to automate, I want you to find the tool to do the job. So you use your Google Foo and you find various tools that do what you need to do. Find all of them. Doesn't matter how old or how crazy they are. Then you can start evaluating. So you can go to your boss and say, look, here's what I found. Here are the ones that down. Based on this information, I want to spend a month testing these. Based on that, we'll pick one. I was actually asked to determine if the software that we are using is the right tool for the job. So I did that and was able to determine that yes, even though I was moaning and complaining and swearing at the software, the one that we had in-house and had already paid for is the best one for the job. Yes, sir.
Do you typically try to find one tool that's more well-rounded for all of the company's needs, or do you pick sort of a big list here, or you sort of pick an individual tool for a specific task and sort of try to integrate a whole suite of them together?
I got a bunch of tools in my toolbox. I know what I can do with each one. Sometimes I find that this tool will do more things than I knew about before. But if I can keep all of that knowledge up here, I know which tool or which tool I need to use in which ways to make what I want to happen, happen. Anything else? I hope you folks left me some food. Thank you very much.